Well, thanks for joining me today, John. Quick introduction of myself. My name is Jace. I'm an account executive here at Hyperbots. Been here for a few months now. Spent about 6 years in the SaaS space with a primary focus on automation and finance and accounting. With me today, again, is John Silverstein. He's the VP of Financial Planning and Accounting at Extreme Reach, with over 20 years of finance leadership experience. Led finance transformations and strategic initiatives at GE, Synchrony Financial, Google, CGS, and a few others. From automating close processes to optimizing cost structures, ERP rollouts, John has delivered measurable impact across both Fortune 500s and high growth startups. So thank you again for joining us today, John.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. And today's primary discussion topic will be on Hyperbots AI Co-pilots while using Oracle NetSuite. John, what makes Hyperbots AI Co-pilots a natural fit for Oracle NetSuite?
Yeah, the great thing about Hyperbots is that they already have pre-built connector to NetSuite. So from a deployment, it's just configuration. You don't have to go in and do coding and things like that. But I'll also say with AI that you don't need to know as much code as you used to. The co-pilots, they read, write. It's every finance object from the chart of accounts, the GL, POs, GRNs, invoices, payments, vendor master, even any custom fields that you have via the NetSuite REST and the SweetTalk API, so you can do either one. The connector supports both real-time streaming, multi-instance sync, and also hashed audit logs. So it's pretty seamless and ability to get up and running pretty fast without having to go back and code and develop and try to figure out a new API type integration. And once live, NetSuite stays the single source of truth. Hyperbots isn't becoming a source of truth in your process.
Sure. And how long does it take to get a Copilot live on NetSuite?
For most clients, the full cycle with sandbox mapping, the UAT replay, and production cutover, it's generally 2 to 4 weeks. And all we need are the API credentials, a UAT tenant, and 90 minutes field mapping workshop. And then we take it from there. If you ask for additional custom objects, then tack on a few extra days for those to make sure the core plumbing is ready and off the shelf.
Sure. So definitely a lot smaller lift than an actual ERP or something along those lines implementing it. And how often does Hyperbots sync data with NetSuite, and what cadence would you recommend?
Yeah, so the cadence is selectable per each data class. So you can go real time, hourly, daily, weekly, different things. So the metadata, like the company and chart of accounts, those are real time, hourly, daily, or weekly. And we recommend that because if there are changes, you need to make sure that everything flows properly. The master data, like vendors, items, and GL accounts, getting that daily because it's not changing every day and things like that is fine. And it can to keep accuracy up and to have the data as quick as possible and not hinder the performance of the systems as well. The transaction data like PO, GRN, and invoices that can be hourly for PO or GRN. Real time though, you can do separate for like actual postings and accruals, so you can see that stuff get through. The rights like PO, invoice, journal entries, and accrual that should always be real time, so you get all the every time something changes that you're getting that information back to you.
Sure. Just very flexible at the end of the day, depending on what your processes and workflows look like. And could you walk me through how each Hyperbots Copilot automates a typical task inside of NetSuite?
Yeah, so each co-pilot, and I like to consider it like a very specific role or responsibility, almost like you would have for an employee. So one of the big things is the invoice processing. It the co-pilot will read a like PDF. It'll do the three-way matches to GRN auto codes the GL and then posts the voucher. This is straight through 80% of invoices. The accruals that will pull the open PO, GRNQs, books the month end accrual journal entries, then auto reverses when the invoice arrives. So this is actually a huge advancement from what most finance and accounting teams are really doing because they're waiting till the month end and things to post these accruals because it's too time intensive. In this case, you have a employee basically that can post and reverse these real time all the time. So your actual GL will be able to be looked at without closing the books. So really important there. The PR and PO extracts. So the purchase request lines from the contracts, checks budgets, routes to Slack approvals, creates the PO record, dispatches it to the vendor. That's another role, right, to make sure that these things are going through. So it can speed up this whole process too, because you're not having to send out emails and go through like the whole month end and things like that. It's actually keeping this stuff up to date, real time. Vendor management. This is to make sure that you ingest the W-9, validate the EIN, make sure that the vendor's onboarded with approval and that you update the vendor master. So then again, your vendor onboarding is faster. You're not waiting for the input of a W-9 manually from a PDF or something else signed. It will read it and you can, and it will post automatically and be in your vendor management. Payment. Um, so those analysis and discounts of and cost of capital proposals, pay dates, executes the ACH batches and posts the cash entries. So those things, again, you're not waiting for your cash entries to post for somebody to come in and look at the bank account and do all this stuff. It's happening real time. So this stuff is a lot more up to date than waiting for accounting to get in during the day or work their 8 hour shifts and things. These things are working 24/7 as well. Sales tax verification. This will also make sure that you validate and your origin and destination, your zip codes, your line item tax codes, and make sure that everything's correct before the invoice posts. So you're not having to do any rework or those types of things as well. And you can also make sure that you're not paying extra tax where you don't need to. And all of that is read write NetSuite native. So no CSV uploads like you have in some other platforms out there where you're having to do the CSV upload to create these entries and things too, which again delays and you don't have real time and you have to wait again for those month end processes.
100%. And how does Hyperbots handle exceptions or write those failures back to NetSuite if they did take place?
Yeah, so every write followed by the immediate readback. If NetSuite returns an error, say locked period or missing segment, the connector retries with exponential backoff after 3 failures. The transaction then parks in a integration exceptions queue with the full NetSuite's error string and a Slack alert to AP or IT, and nothing silently fails. So every attempt is logged in the hash chain audit trail to make sure that you can correct those and make it continue to get better there.
Sure. Making sure nothing slips through the cracks at the end of the day.
Right.
What safeguards are in place for security, data integrity, and just customization as a whole?
Yeah, so there's encryption, the TLS 1.3 and plus AES 256 is in there. It's SOC 2, Type 2, ISO 27001 certified. So that's obviously, we've checked the box there, if you will, and make sure that it's secure. From a role-based, you have your OAuth scopes as well. So your AP token can't see payroll items and things like that. So that's critical to keep to make sure it's role based and everything, and that no one's seen stuff that they shouldn't. It also supports the custom fields and multi-currency, so we can map out any suite script, custom column or record, and post that multi-currency amount with the NetSuite native FX rates and your multi-instance switchboard. So that allows one pane to show traffic across subsidiaries or sandbox production, and that makes sure that we stay compliant with while respecting both your NetSuite build that's specific to you.
Sure. And if we were, or if you guys were to migrate off of NetSuite or say upgrade to the latest release, what happens to the current integration that you guys have?
Yeah, so this is another great thing is that the Hyperbots connectors are versioned. So during a migration, we can enable a dual write mode, so it can write to the two instances, posting to both ledgers on that until the cutover day. So that's one way to make sure that you're basically live and running in parallel. So it's pretty easy to version. Upgrading inside NetSuite's equally smooth. We use the RESTlet versions and abstracted by the connector, so the co-pilots keep humming with no code change. So that's how it continues to operate.
Awesome. Keeps up with what you guys need to do, even through the actual integration process to the upgraded system. So that's awesome. Last question I have for you today, John. Finally, how do you prove that every write into NetSuite actually landed as intended?
Yeah, so that goes with the readback validation that we spoke a little about earlier. So the readback validation, it compares each field, amounts, currency, subsidiary, class, department, to the intended payload. And if anything diverges, the transactions rolled back or corrected automatically. A green check is posted badge appears when the connector sees a bit for bit match. So that gives finance full confidence in ledger integrity. So this is automated, and your ledger is going to be more accurate actually than when you were running spreadsheets and things and CSVs trying to make sure everything came through properly, which actually we run into at Extreme Reach with many of our processes being CSV uploads where there was an extra comma added or something like that, and you missed the whole line or you missed the end of a file. So this process and making sure and having it with the checks, not only checks, but then you have it through the API and everything is obviously a huge plus. And it's live, and you don't have to go through a whole month of transactions.
Yep. Yeah, that visibility and accuracy at the end of the day is huge. But that's all I had for you today, John. Thank you as always for joining us, and we'll look forward to having more conversations with you in the near future.
All right. Thank you.